Hello everybody. I've got here the world's leading expert in art, and today we shall be talking a lot about many things. But let's go back to our screens first. It's very important that you do not paint with your hands. It's very important you just observe others paint. It's very important you become a consumer and not a creator. So welcome to this show, The Perfect Voyeurism. And we are going to start our lovely interview with Rappig or Rablet. You know, she looks a mix in between. She's from Oman. Like I've told you before, she's the world's leading expert on postmodern art. She said that everything is art. She also said that the more irrational an art piece is, the more popular. So I've decided to test her knowledge today and making something totally erratic. You know, apparently art replaced religion. So maybe it needs to be as irrational as religion. What do you think, Rablet? She's got a little slot as a guinea pig, but because she's from Oman, it's impossible that she's a pig. She looks more like a rabbit. So it's a kind of a rabbit bank, you know, not a piggy bank. And today's lesson is going to be about many things, as you can say, and you can see, but I would say more as you can say, because painting is an art that people seem to appreciate through their ears and not through their eyes. So today's lesson is going to be about the irrationality of the art world. And you might call this a performance. I think this is reality. Now, Rablet, what do you have to say about contemporary art? Dear viewer, you can now project whatever you want. It will be equally valid. Something we've learned with postmodernism is that there are no experts. Your opinion is just as valid as anyone else's. Right? That's what she says. So you don't need to learn how to draw and paint. That's passé. You only need to entertain. So is contemporary art thriving? She said the art market is thriving. Yes, the market. She also says that art is a circus. Nowadays, it's entertainment. I hope you're enjoying the entertainment. We're about to start a painting soon, but because you would quickly disconnect if I just draw, you know, you need entertainment, you need color, you need colors. One thing I have to say is that I'm going to paint with a screen that is constantly shifting in color to see if you like it better. Now, if you have any questions, valid questions, not where I do my shopping. Check on eBay, you lazy. You know, just type on Google shiny sunglasses and you can find everything I found as well. I'm about to start a painting lesson, but we are in the future, like I've said. We're not in the present anymore. It's very important, Rabbit or Rablet says, that you absolutely hate the things that you were supposed to love. It's very important that as an artist, of course you went to study fine arts because of all the great masters, you know, you went to a fine art college because you looked at Leonardo da Vinci's, Michelangelo's, medieval art, Persian paintings, and you thought, wow. And it's very important as soon as you arrive to university that you get brainwashed into hating the very same things you used to love. It's very important. You will feel very special, you know, if you hate what is beautiful. So today's lesson, she's going to be our master. I'm about to start painting, so I will approach the camera from the paper But first I need to ask if you have any questions. This is now the right time. Like I said, we have the world's leading expert on postmodernism, on contemporary art. Right, and now we are about to start. Absolutely, John. Entertainment is very easy. Art is very hard. And how do we create entertainment, Sangeeta? We're just doing it right now. Actually, I'd say you must be a part of it. When you look at any contemporary piece of art, you project whatever you want to project onto the piece. That can be interesting, but I'm very critical of it because we all project things, you know. Just look at clouds and you see animals, you see battles, you see they're not there, they're an illusion. The more irrational something is, the easier it becomes to project hidden meanings. And this is the huge flaw of contemporary art. They say, contemporary artists, they say that they're communicating. It's rubbish. Because communicating implies there is a code that has the same meaning between the speaker and the listener. So essentially, what is communication? We cannot communicate if we don't speak the same language or the same body language or the same visual language. Does that make sense? Language is a code. It's not something that we just create. If I create my own language, I'm essentially babbling. I can babble, it's easy, you know. That has a lot of meaning for me. Does it mean anything to you? I don't know. You have to understand the language first. The issue with contemporary art is that they fragmented the language into the language of narcissism. And because each artist now became its own creator and at the same time its own interpreter and at the same time its own observer, it's a culture of self. There is no real language. Whatever we see when we look at most contemporary pieces of art is just our own projection. Okay? And you can project whatever you want onto this video. Whatever you want. It's easy. It's easy to create contemporary art. This is only a live stream. It could easily become a performance. Easily. So, what I want to say is that the irrationality of religion, you know, the same way that religion just created, how can I say, religion is fantastic in the sense that you can believe whatever you want and be a part of a club. I'm talking now organized religion. I'm not talking spirituality. And every organized religion should have spirituality. Usually they don't seem to. There's a problem. But the thing with religion is that you can also project whatever you want without having to supply any sort of evidence. And even that language is only spoken amongst the elements of that elite. So if you belong to a cult, only those cult members understand what is being said. It's a language that uses a lot of hidden, undisclosed symbology and metaphors. A lot is happening to contemporary art. So when you say that, oh, and Sangeeta, please do please do complete sentences. When you say I disagree, let me know about what, because I only see the messages many seconds after we're speaking, and I don't know which bit. The thing is that decoding, Sarah, like you said and said very well, decoding implies a common understanding of meanings. And painting nowadays disappeared. It just died out. Nobody asks painters what they think about life and the world. Artists became entertainment. artists became cheap clowns, or perhaps serious clowns. Sometimes there is mime, other times there is tragedy, but it's essentially entertainment. But Piglet, she says, she says that the contemporary arts are the best medium to convey concepts that do not exist. They are paralinguistic. So when you have language, you're tied up to the meanings of words. When you have contemporary art, you can create free association of ideas, which can go beyond words and beyond logic. I have to agree with her on that. You know, she probably knows what she's saying. She's, after all, the leading expert on contemporary arts, because you don't have to study it anymore. You can just give an opinion, right? So the contemporary arts became a freak show made for a public that likes to give opinions without having a knowledge. Artists became entertainers. They're not leading intellectuals anymore. Actually, most of the so-called concepts that conceptual art is trying to convey, I have to disagree with the world's leading expert. I think art is a terrible medium to convey concepts. Terrible. It creates, if anything, miscommunication. Words are much better for that. Name me one single artist that brought you concepts that are any deeper, conceptually speaking, than a great philosopher or a great scientist, or name me one. One, I dare to say. So if what you love the most about art is concepts, I think you're being lazy. That means you don't enjoy reading books, because any good book has got much more depth of concepts than any good artist has ever created. I even dare to say, without exception. Name me one artist that goes beyond what contemporary physics has achieved, or the history of philosophy, or what so on. Just name me one. Okay? So this is a conceptual art piece, a conceptual installation, a conceptual performance attacking conceptualism. It's rubbish. Okay? But because classical painting is so out of fashion, we are going to create entertainment. I'm going to go back to the Bargue painting course, you know, the one I want you to learn. And we're going to do it on a full color. We're going to do it fun. John, Leonardo da Vinci could illustrate a concept, but there is nothing just in the paintings that goes beyond the concept that he wrote about. If this makes any sense to you. Illustrating a concept is easy. What is harder is to create an image that goes beyond the ability of words to convey a concept. And that's why I think conceptualism miserably failed. Miserably failed. Because you cannot through visual media create linguistic concepts that are stronger than words themselves, you know. You cannot ask painting to do the role of literature the same way that you cannot ask literature to do the role of painting. I go even further. I think artists that say that the concept is what matters, they really hate painting. They're frustrated writers. They should have been writing books. Nobody asks a writer. What I'm trying to say is that if painting is judged through the use of words, through the use of literature, you know, linguistic means, then why shouldn't books be judged through pictorial means? Why don't we ask painters to do the critique of books? It makes no sense. This is a huge misunderstanding. It's because many people equate language as a higher form of thought. That's a terrible misunderstanding. I dare to say that language, and I'm a speaker, I'm a rambler, you know, I'm always talking, blah, blah, blah. But I dare to say that language creates also misunderstandings. Language can be a mental disease in the sense that language creates a parallel reality that is more convincing than reality itself. I'm going back to what I've just said. Language creates fake realities that seem truthful. As long as you speak logically, you create realities that do not exist. You can have fully logically formed sentences and end up with total madness and a really bad interpretation of reality. And this is the issue with logic. You know, this is the issue with language. We need all sorts of intelligences. We don't need just the literary one. My critique on contemporary arts in general is that they rely too heavily on the interpretation of texts and what text has to say about painting. But I'm challenging you again. If you truly love art, you don't think that a writer is superior to a painter. Nobody asks painters what they think about books. Okay? So why should we ask writers what they think about paintings? It's exactly the same thing, you know. If you don't have a visually trained intelligence, I'm talking about visual intelligence now, spatial intelligence, you cannot emit opinions on vision and visual facts. You can have an opinion, but it's not going to be an expert's opinion. That's what I'm trying to say. Yet, if you are very clever with a pen, if you create amazing streams of I wouldn't even say consciousness, because like I've said before, I think language creates parallel realities that do not exist. If you create amazing streams of chained thoughts, you are more than qualified by most art museums to emit opinions, supposedly qualified opinions about artworks. I think you got my point. All right? Now, like everything in life, you always have a very small niche of people that get things. The vast majority just has an average opinion. It's a bit like, you know, if you look at the IQ distribution, the distribution of IQs amongst the population, the vast majority of people has a medium intelligence. It's a very small minority that has very low intelligence or very high intelligence. So that's why the majority is rarely right, you know, because the majority usually has an average opinion, an average understanding, an average realization. And there's nothing wrong with it. What is dangerous is that on the 21st century, the average became the opinion. This is the big danger. So I don't think that as a species we are going to survive much longer, just for one reason. I was listening recently to a video by the world's leading expert on narcissistic personality disorder, and his name is Sam Vaknin. And he said that because our culture became narcissistic, mind you, real narcissists are still a small percentage of the population. They used to be about 1%. Nowadays, it's up to 5%. So it went 5 times more in the last 15 years or 20 years. So the number is really escalating. But like I was saying, real narcissists are still a minority, but our culture is narcissistic in the sense that we applaud narcissists. We applaud people with personality disorders. We applaud attention seekers. We applaud know-nothing celebrities that are only famous for being famous. Nothing else. You know, our celebrities are famous for being famous. Put all those singers together, all those footballers together, and their IQ put together is maybe 100. You know, and those are the people we listen to. So Sam Vaknin was saying that in the 30s, 40s, and 50s, the most desirable man in the world was Albert Einstein. You heard me right. Women were crazy about Albert Einstein. Even Marilyn Monroe wanted to have a baby with Albert Einstein. That says a lot. Now, tell me who are the desirable people. Those footballers I was telling you about, and those singers. So we really, really, really went down in terms of appreciation of intelligence. And Sam Vaknin said something. That's why I needed these sunglasses. And that's why my suit needs to blink. Get ready. Get ready. Sam Vaknin said that what society didn't realize is that, psychologically speaking, if society becomes narcissistic, which it already became, now get ready, the next stage is to become psychopathic. You heard me right. That's what Sam Vaknin said, the world's leading expert on personality disorders. When society becomes narcissistic, psychopaths will thrive. Because psychopaths, they eat narcissists for breakfast. That's something narcissists don't usually know. Psychopaths eat narcissists for breakfast. If society becomes narcissistic, naturally it will be psychopaths that will reach power, which means society will become psychopathic. And that could be the end of us. So I want to bring you back into humble craftsmanship, humble painting. Enough of this joke, okay? I'm gonna turn on the lights. Thank you so much for the bit of entertainment. And now back to the real painting lesson. Give me a second. Of course, I will check your questions later. At the moment, I cannot do that because I'll be painting, you know, not trying to create concepts. I will be painting with real paints, not just ideas or things of that kind. There we go. Back to reality. And back to reality. So hello everybody again. And now I'll just need to turn this off. It's a little bit bling. It's a little bit bling. See, I've got these commands, and when I turn these things off, I don't know if you can see. Let me just check one thing. Yes. Now that I'm gonna see, now it's blinking faster. I've got the glasses. Let me show you. They're beep, and now faster, and now off. And I'm going to do exactly the same for suspenders and for... Okay. And I forgot to warn you that if someone has... what's the name of that? There's a disease that you can easily faint if you see flashing lights. I forgot now. This video should come with a warning sign. Okay, and now I can see everybody. Now I can see everybody. Yes, so Raji and John, any art can convey things that words cannot convey. And it's because we're not talking words anymore. We're talking the other senses. We when we paint, we appeal to vision. Of course, we always trigger on concepts, and it's part of an art piece to allow for association of ideas, because it makes it richer, it makes it more interesting. But in my opinion, it should never, I think she disagrees though, but in my opinion, It should never be the main reason why you make an artwork. Like a friend of mine just wrote, political art never talks about politics in art. And I was like, wow, that was a spectacular thought, you know, in the sense that he was criticizing political art, of course, because he said the problem with political artists is that they never talk about politics in art. You know, they come up as beacons of freedom, and they say things, but actually they don't question their own validity for saying those things, or why are they saying those things in the first place? Who is benefiting? You know? So political artists rarely talk about politics in art. Let us paint now. I've got for you a lovely, lovely, lovely horse. A lovely horse from the Bargue course. And one thing I really have to tell you. Oh, where did I put the horse? If you see any horse, tell me to stop, okay? I'm searching for the horse. Not that horse. Another horse, you know, a big one. A big horse. If you see the big horse, not that horse either. It's a different one. Here it is. So this is the horse we are going to paint today. I already drew it, so we don't spend time creating the main shapes. But one thing that I would like to announce is that the Bargue course that I'm preparing is almost about to be released. I'm still filming a few more lessons. I've got the whole of Thursday, the whole of Friday I'll be filming. And I must thank in advance Renato, you know, the journalist that is filming the course for me, because he's amazing. I mean, if this course is going to be what it is going to be, can I be humble? I think it's going to be the best course in the whole world made so far about 19th century drawing techniques. I haven't seen anything that even compares to it. It's all thanks to Renato, because each time I do something, he tells me, that doesn't look good on camera, do it again, and again, and again, and sometimes we're spending 2-3 hours to end up with 5-minute footage, but it's well worth it, you know. This is BBC quality, this is Netflix quality, it's going to be in 4K, ultra high definition. You can see everything in depth, and I'm just about to release the course. But let us now paint. I'm going to bring your camera closer. I'll just have the horse in here. It's not very important that you see the horse all the time. What is important is that you occasionally ask me questions. It's very important, indeed. So you are coming closer together, and oh, such a crooked little thing. See, if my journalist was here, if Renato was here, he'd say this is unacceptable, you know. The card is bending too much. This is unacceptable. This is not Netflix quality. But that's a live stream, so it's okay. With live streams, you can do anything. It's the entertainment that matters. So, let me just put a card in case Renato is watching this to make sure it's a little bit straighter. And now the paper is bended. Lovely. Absolutely lovely. Okay, that's going to be very pleasant. Now let me see. Questions first, and then we are about to... Oh, epilepsy. That's right, Sarah. That's the disease. Indeed, Angela. Photosensitive epilepsy. Elena, that's exactly what I said. You probably misunderstood what I said. that's exactly what I said, that elite celebrities are rarely knowledgeable. So you probably misunderstood what I said. What I said is that we went down. You know, in the past, our Albert Einstein would have been the most desirable man for women, and now it's some sort of, I don't know, celebrity from Love Island. Would that be the number one choice? I don't know. Ask women, they will tell you. So let me just get some tape and I'll be back in a second. Okay, we're about to start. We're about to start. And what I want you to do, okay, just a bit of tape. See, Netflix quality. You even see the tape sticking out of the on camera. Can you see the bad tape there? Amazing. It's a little bit straighter now. And I will just tape as, okay, no need. Done here. Now, we are going to use powdered charcoal, but we shall be using powdered charcoal in a water solution. And this is a trick I would like to show you, is that when you're drawing charcoal drawings, sometimes the texture of charcoal gets too much in your face, you know, especially if you are using a rough paper, which is this case. I'm using the very beautiful paper called Lana Aquarelle, a French paper. I love the texture of this paper, but if you draw just with charcoal, it can get a bit too powdery, and then that means you have to sharpen your charcoal stick, and you have to go and fill in all the gaps of the texture. There's an easier way. If you mix charcoal powder with a little bit of water, I also like to add some alcohol, you know, so it evaporates faster, because if you use just water, the paper stays wet longer. But if you mix, let's say 30% alcohol to 70% water, let's simplify, 1 part alcohol to 2 parts water, something of that sort, your paint dries much quicker. The advantage is that you can layer faster, and also some papers won't buckle as much, you know. This paper doesn't buckle anyway, but I like to mix a bit of alcohol in the water. Now, if you mix, like I said, charcoal powder with water, if you want a bit of alcohol, and a binder, such as Arabic gum, then you get a charcoal paint, if that makes any sense. And you can apply charcoal paint for the very first layers of your charcoal drawing. It's then very easy on top to draw with your charcoal, and the texture won't be as visible. So let us go straight back. Let me just prepare the thing in here. Let us go straight back to Bargue questions. Question number one. What is the very first thing that you are going to shade? Please write it down. You have 2 options. You are going to shade first the light shadows, or you are going to shade first the dark shadows, or you are going to shade first small details, like the blackest blacks, for example. Write me down first, what shall we do? I'm going to show you the horse, and you tell me. So when you look at this horse, what are we going to shade first? Are we going to shade the blackest blacks? Are we going to shade all the shadows with one flat color, including the blackest blacks? Or are we going to shade first the light grays? Okay? So you tell me, and 2 answers out of these 3, 2 answers are correct. 1 answer is wrong. So please write it down. You've got nothing to to lose. You actually have a lot to gain if you write the answers down. And then I will go through the answers to see what you wrote in between. Okay, I'm just finishing this here. So 2 answers out of 3 are correct. And now it's time to read your answers. Shadows, dark shadows, the blackest blacks, the shade, all the shadows, then build the darkness of shadows. No. Lads and ladettes, remember that painting your darkest darks first applies to painting. But remember, we are still doing a drawing. So I don't recommend that you paint first the blackest blacks and then the lighter, so on, because just in the sense that in drawing it's much harder to erase if things go wrong. So this is still a Bargue drawing. Do you understand? You still need to think of it in terms of drawing technique. So I would say the most correct answer, and I said that two of the 3 answers are correct. The most correct answer would be to first paint all the shadows as one flat gray. The second most correct answer would be to paint first your blackest blacks. So we are going to paint now all the shadows as one flat gray. Question to the class. Do you need all your shadows to be the right tone? Or do you start a little bit lighter? Or do you start a little bit darker? So do you aim straight away to the exact grays that you want? Or do you build progressively? Now these are very simple questions, but it's because I never know who is online and what type of knowledge you might have or not regarding painting, you know. Okay, here we are. And it's very confusing that, yes, let's start lighter and then we build gradually. It's very confusing that when I'm painting and looking at the computer at the same time, the questions don't stream straight away. I have to scroll. So yeah, forgive me sometimes for standing up, going into the computer and then sitting right back. It's because things are not scrolling correctly. I will try to hold the book in a position that you can more or less see what I am doing. And what I will be doing is literally just to paint things in sections. Now I find this gray, it's pretty good for what we need. But I would still put a little bit more water just in case, because I don't want any of these shadows to dry too dark. And now notice one thing. I am painting like I recommend you do. I am painting not by using my eyes, not by watching other people paint. I'm using my hand. My hand, which is this. Huh? So you do the same, okay? At home, don't just observe. I really want you to start painting. You are here to develop painting skills. You are not here just to observe somebody else painting. That would be such a waste. Okay, so now notice another thing. I am painting by using mostly a dry brush method. So I don't have much paint on the brush. I'm actually painting with very little paint, if that makes any sense. Okay, and now also notice that I am still not worried at this stage with any sort of detail, but all the zigzags must be in place. This is crucial. The zigzags must be in place. And I'm also going to smudge some of the edges, just ever so slightly, so we don't end up with hard edges in places we don't need them yet. See, I'm just melting some of these edges away. Let me just check if there are more questions or comments. Oh, Elena, you put a question mark. About what? Guys, please write full sentences, because like I've described before, during a live stream, I only see your comments sometimes several minutes after the conversation we were having. So you need to let me know what are you talking about. Otherwise there is no real communication. Like I was saying before, otherwise we are just creating our own language, but there is no perceived communication between the two parts. I need to know what you are commenting about. This is the limitation of live streams. You know, during live streams, you cannot be reading live all the time unless you have an assistant. Sangeeta, I'm still waiting for you to come and assist me like you promised me, you know, after the quarantine is over. And I also have Anna promising me that she would help me out. So I think once we have all these assistants, you guys can just comment straight away. Now look what I'm doing. As soon as I'm painting, I'm deciding if a certain edge needs to be sharp or blurry, even at this stage. So in watercolor, it's crucial that actually you paint straight away sharp edges or blurry edges according to your needs. Do not paint and then try to correct a hard edge later, because it's really hard. You know, the paint will be dried, it would have been absorbed by the paper, and then you are trying to remove it and melt it away. It's not going to work. So it's best when you want a soft edge to do it straight away. Now I'm going to move into the so I don't know if you guys are getting what I'm trying to say here. What I am doing is creating an undercoat for then the charcoal to stick better without having too much grain, you know, without having too much texture. I like texture, but I don't like when it's distracting. So the whole purpose of texture is still to it's just to animate a drawing. I don't think it should overpower the drawing, if that makes any sense. Now these are all hard edges. I'm looking at the horse picture, and those shadows over there are all pretty hard. So there isn't really a need to blend any edge at this stage. Now, whoever is new to these classes and whoever just arrived, you must go to YouTube, find my previous lessons, type Nelson Ferreira, and then write Bargue, B-A-R-G-U-E, okay, Bargue, a French name, and learn how I've drawn this. I didn't trace it, and I hate the idea of tracing things over. If you know how to draw, you know how to draw. You just draw, okay? And in the Bargue lessons, I'm demonstrating how you create a drawing, actually very swiftly. Although during the lessons I talk a lot, so there is no way I can work at the exact same speed that I would if I wasn't giving a lesson. Another thing is that during the lessons I have to paint sideways, so the camera it's showing, which again is not very easy to do, but we do it, you know, because you need to see what's happening. My arm shouldn't be covering the view. It's very important that you see what happens. And now notice something else. Notice how by painting everything the very same color, it becomes easier and easier to see. And when I say very same, I don't mean it in the sense that it's all the same shade of gray, because it's not. In some areas I went a bit darker, in others a bit lighter. It doesn't matter. But what I said is that by painting things with one just quick wash of a color, you don't waste time trying to match the exact shades yet, because it builds up. And the advantage is that you, by not wasting that precious time trying to match colors, you are swifter in terms of the drawing, and more quickly you can see if there's any mistakes of shape. Correct drawing mistakes before you try to get the right colors, okay? Don't waste 2 or 3 hours getting the right colors to then realize 10 minutes after you applied them that they were in the wrong place and that the shapes are wrong. Always get the shapes right first. I am repeating myself in some of these live streams, and this is on purpose, because first of all, I'm trying to brainwash you. And media does that, you know, so I'm using social media to pass on a message. I'm trying to brainwash you. But the second reason is that you need to listen to the same things over and over and over again until they become a part of you. You don't want always new knowledge in every live stream. Otherwise you wouldn't be able to retain the information. So at the moment this is a very easy job. You know, I'm literally just coloring inside of the lines. And that's another advantage of the Bargue technique, the Bargue method. Classical artists learned how to simplify the painting process. And one of the ways to simplify it is actually this. First you sort out your drawing errors, and after you just paint with the colors. And because you break the act of painting into very simple steps, there's no way you can fail. See, what am I doing now? With a little bit of water, I'm melting some of those edges, because they are going to be, they're meant to be a little bit soft. I don't know if that is showing on camera or not. Let me just check if you have any more questions. Elena, what previous comment? Oh, the footballers, or something else. You probably meant the footballers. Yeah, they're rarely wise, of course. I mean, they're not intellectuals. I'm not saying they're stupid people. They're not. You know, they are fully functioning human beings. But I don't think we should look up to them in terms of understanding of reality, because they are not intellectuals. You know, does that need to be said even? But I think for a lot of fans, yes, that needs to be stated. They don't get it. And what makes me sad with artists in general is that we also stopped being intellectuals. Just in the sense that in a lot of contemporary arts, we closed upon ourselves. So we took refuge into the inner world. And that means, well, there's nothing wrong with it, but that means that we did lose indeed the ability to speak to others, because we invented our own language, we invented our own codes, we invented our own symbols, and we lost the ability to communicate. And that's now the big mess that we are going through in the contemporary art market. where you can't even distinguish anymore the work of a master from the work of a beginner, because they look the same, literally, you know, they look the same. If you don't look at the signature, you don't know if you're looking at something that is worth 10 million or something that is worth 10 pounds. They look the same. Framing is different and the light is different. When you go to a museum, you know, you have these curators working really hard to make sure that everything looks fine, but the artwork itself, it looks the same. You know, it's not it's the emperor's new clothes, literally. And I know you understand that, Elena, because you are one of the few people I know that has a deep, deep, deep love for knowledge and traditional art as well. I mean, you studied it, so that makes a whole world of a difference. Okay, very soon I'm gonna stop this just for a second because I don't want this to be boring. And the problem with classical traditional painting is that it demands attention span. It really demands an attention span. You cannot learn painting if your attention span is 10 seconds. You know, like most people nowadays. You cannot learn painting if your attention span is 10 seconds. Now let me check the questions. To take a picture of this stage. Hi Henry. Oh, good to have you online. I think it's the first time I see you on the live stream. I think the best to do, because I don't know how to take a picture now of this stage. What I'm going to do is I'm going to approach the camera, and I would love you to later do a screenshot on a computer, if that makes any sense, because you're going to be more technological than I am, you know. So yeah, this is what we've been working so far. It's just a flat wash, and then you can take a screenshot. Just feel free to. I still have not uniformized the different tones. That's what I'm going to do next. And the live stream is almost over, you know, because we have a rule, which is I try not to go over 1 hour. I could easily talk for 3, 4, 5 hours, like the lessons the lessons you've attended. I always run over time, but with the live streams, I'm trying to shut them at roughly 1 hour after I start to keep the pace. So guys, next step, which you will not see, there is no time now. We had to go through the conceptual bit at the beginning. That was more important. Next step is to go over all the shadows and try to even them out. So by evening out the shadows, what's the advantage of evening out the shadows? You write it down, please. I really want to know what you think. Why not have these patches of slightly different shades before making bigger decisions about the drawing? Why even out the shadows is important? Why is it important to flatten your shadows into one single shade? Please write it down, okay? I'm going to start reading your comments. I'm going to start reading your comments. So I hope, Elena, now I can do justice, you know, to our conversation. I was not able to read, but I'm very interested in knowing what you think. And same with you, Sangeeta. I disagree. I don't know what you were talking about. So time to check the comments. No. So you can go darker where required, Sangeeta. Yes. So once this is dry, in watercolor technique, you just apply another layer and it darkens. Eventually, this is going to be a drawing made in charcoal, but I like to create a foundation with very diluted paint, because like I said, the texture tends to look finer. It tends to look more refined. Oh, Sangeeta, you said that I disagree that entertainment is easy. See, now it makes sense. A complete sentence. A complete sentence. But you forgot the final dot. Guys, so please, when you make comments, don't forget to make complete sentences, okay? Evening out shadows allows us to check shapes. Raji, that's exactly the reason why we make shadows very simple and one flat color. Our brain is not overloaded with variety in the shadows. That means our brain can only perceive the outline of the shadow. It becomes a cutout. And that's great, because that means we can perceive shape. Shape becomes so clear, so crystal clear, that we see on the spot any drawing errors and mistakes. Very good, Raji. Will you continue next Sunday on the same piece, Sangeeta? Unfortunately not, and I'll tell you why. All of these paintings, I'm doing now 10 Bargue drawings this week. 10. Usually a Bargue drawing, to give you an idea, for a beginner, a Bargue drawing can take almost a week to complete. I am going to do 10 in 1 week, because Renato asked me until Friday, he asked me to display at least 10 Bargue drawings in the course to show a variety of images and effects. So people don't think that Bargue technique is just one type of thing, you know. I want to show a variety, from sculptures of animals to the human body. Some drawings will be more realistic, others will be more idealistic, but it's all Bargue. It's all pure Bargue technique. But yes, no, the drawings will be ready, hopefully. Hopefully when you see me next on Sunday, I'll have drawings that are ready to show you, hopefully, if I don't forget. Now, you're not able to see the line drawing, Raji. Oh, I am sorry. You also ask, in which proportion do you mix water and binder with charcoal powder? There is no exact recipe, because different brands of charcoal powder will be either finer or coarser, and that means there will be different amounts of binder. So what you have to do, like with everything that relates to paint, is you have to test it yourself. Use the white cloth or the white tissue paper test, which is paint a stripe. It's like egg tempera. You remember when you were making egg tempera in the art class? What we do is that we add a binder to a pigment. In the case of egg tempera, it's egg yolk. Then we paint a little bit on a piece of paper. We allow it to dry. We want the paint to dry matte. In the case of watercolor, you want it matte, not glossy. If it's glossy, too much binder, you know, too much gum arabic, not good. You want it matte. Paint a stripe, leave it to dry, and then rub it with a little bit of tissue paper. If you see pigment getting onto the paper, that means there isn't enough binder in the paint, you know, to hold the pigments together to the paper, to glue them to the paper. In that case, it's simple, just put a few more drops of binder. If the paint dries glossy, that means you have too much binder. And that's how you create your paint. You need to test. And okay, I think I'm through all the comment. Oh, Elena, I just saw a new comment. Apparently 150. What is 150? Because the sentence is not complete. The sentence is not complete. And I believe, I doubt that Donald Trump has a very high IQ. That's impossible. He cannot have a high IQ. He can be clever, but he's not intelligent. He's not an intellectual. Again, there is a difference between being smart as in wheeler dealer. You know how to do. You can be streetwise. You can be smart. You can see and grab business opportunities, That does not make you an intellectual. And definitely Trump is not an intellectual. Come on. He even said to inject bleach and UV light to fight corona. Brilliant. So we have... Okay. I think all the concepts... Yes, Elena, I love that story of conceptual art when the cleaning ladies, for the rest of the class, this big scandal happened in some art gallery. Well, it happened more than once. The first story I heard, I believe it was in New York, but now it's happening all over the world because they all copy each other anyway. You know, conceptual artists, they're always copying each other. So what happened? They all copy Duchamp, by the way. This is what must be said. Everybody copies Marcel Duchamp. But Marcel Duchamp lived 100 years ago. He was a genius, yes. He created something very, very new. His followers... I have doubts, because his followers cannot claim technical knowledge or proficiency. They only claim originality of concepts. Now, there's a copyright infringement here because it was Marcel Duchamp that invented conceptual art. You know? Copyright infringement. He invented 90% of the lexicon, 90% of the vocabulary being spoken nowadays by conceptual artists. He created the whole thing. So, yeah, but no. Now, back to the story. Like Elena said, and this is brilliant, there was an art exhibition somewhere in New York, and then it happened again in Venezuela. It happened everywhere, where the cleaning ladies arrived the next morning. And because they couldn't distinguish the rubbish from the art, everything was chucked into the bin. And what's pathetic is that in one of these stories, the gallerist went to the artist, to the bin, to try to distinguish what was the artistic valuable rubbish from the unvaluable rubbish. You know? Somebody did a really bad sculpture, by the way, with old cans of drinks. So at the end of the show, they went to the rubbish and they were trying to figure out if this can was part of the arts or maybe that can was part of the party of the opening night. They don't know the difference. Anyway, that's kind of a joke, but it's very telling of our times, and it's very telling. And I'm going to just wrap up this lesson. I just want to conclude that if there is something I would like you to take from tonight's tutorial, tonight's lesson, is that the arts became confused with entertainment. That was the death of the arts. Okay? So, the greatest expert in the world on conceptual art, she says that art is dead because art became everything. And because I'm just reading her mind, by the way. We communicate telepathically. She says that art is life and life is art. And that means that everything is art, which means that everybody is an artist, which means that artists don't exist anymore as experts. So everything became the same. When something is everything, that something becomes nothing. Because to better define things, we need contrasts. If everything became art, according to some thinkers with quotation marks, because I have serious doubts, if everything became art, that means that art became nothing. Think of that, okay? And I definitely do not agree with that. I've spent decades studying painting and I still have a lot to learn because there is deep knowledge in the field. All right? Thanks everybody for your comments, for your support. Share this amongst your conceptual artist friends. You know, let's get some narcissistic injury. Let's get all the narcissists now really upset because I'm challenging their godlike, their higher mindset that the common mortal cannot understand. You know, you can show them a live stream, a video made by somebody that studied fine arts and says that the emperor is naked. You know, the new clothes don't exist. Thank you very, very much for your time and attention, and I will speak to you soon. I will be doing another live stream on Sunday at the same time. Mind you, last minute comment, last second comment, I might move all of my live streams to YouTube directly. The image quality is better, so please do sign up now, subscribe now to my YouTube channel, the English channel, because I have a Portuguese one. You know, just search for me on YouTube, Nelson Ferreira Art Classes. Subscribe, because I think very soon, within 1 or 2 weeks, I'm going to fully move my live streams to YouTube. Plus, Facebook is evil. It really is evil. And I want to migrate elsewhere. I will still be posting my YouTube videos, my YouTube live streams on Facebook occasionally, but I want to migrate to YouTube, and the image quality is much better. So you will see all the details of the camera. With a little bit of luck, I might even do 4K videos, you know, videos with 4K resolution. With a little bit of luck. I don't think my internet is that big, that strong. Take care, guys. Bye-bye. Ciao.